Next question actually had to do with privacy and guest data. As increasingly, it is both possible and profitable to collect guest data and use it to personalize the guest experience. How do you balance this opportunity with consumer concerns over guest privacy and data security?
I mean, to me, the profitability question is you really have to look at it long term, because it's easy to say, I can profitably market a upseller a beverage to a guest, but if I'm doing it in a way that makes them, even if I'm totally compliant with every regulation, which we have to be, if they have the perception that we're inappropriately using data about them, obviously the long-term ROI of that is negative, because we've lost a guest. So to me, there's something about hospitality that, unlike many other businesses, guests are giving us such a high degree, they expect such a high degree of privacy, because they're staying with us, they're security, they're away from home, and so what we do with respect to privacy just needs to have an incredibly high bar, more so than retail or restaurants or other sectors of their lives.
There's a legal aspect too. For most of the major hotel groups that have properties around the world, they're increasingly being forced to adopt the most strict of the regulations. Say from Germany is usually the one that's cited as most strict. And ultimately that brings you back to, it's got to be opt-in. Anything you want to do with the guest has to be opt-in.
It's really user generated, right? Let the user decide what content and what communications they want to receive, right? How customized they want that experience to be. And so we opt for a solution where our guests can opt out in different types of levels of communication. How granular do you want us to get on communicating with you? But we do find that the ROI is very high, right? With the deeper customization, right? If you get the perfect alignment there. But having the user make that decision versus the brand make that decision, I think is ultimately what's most important.
The other thing we see I think as a pattern is that if you want to get the guest to give you the information and do it on a consistent basis and have that be usable, you have to give them something back in return. You can't ask, what temperature do you want in the room, unless you're prepared to set the temperature in the room.
And deliver to that setting.
And do that consistently across most of the brand. And I think a lot of things people are saying, well, we can collect all this data, but what are you going to do with it? And then where's the benefit to the customer?
Well, that's the big question. You get all this data, but what is it actionable? What are you doing?
And past behavior is no indication of. We hear things from vendors all the time about if my TV preferences were stored, but the TV preferences when I'm traveling with my family are entirely different than for business. And unless we're able to really anticipate to that level of detail, it's irrelevant, and the extra effort required to change the channel or seek out the specific content that I want that time around, it isn't worth compromising privacy by making these anticipatory decisions that are probably wrong. So,
and I think, to take on Doug's point, I think if you show benefit to the guest and they opt into it, but then you have the other side of the coin, the generation today, the Facebook users. They don't care.
There is no privacy.
There is no privacy.
That's
So you're dealing with that community. I mean, if you look at, we were in Vegas last week, and MGM has this tool that's a location track, and you can find your way around the hotel. But they're also tracking you. But the point is, people finding the benefit of that, saying, I can't find, this restaurant. But that's okay, I'll let them track me, because I see benefit in that. I think that's where you have to show that.
Just like Google Maps, the same way. I mean, you're using it to see where you're going, but they know where you are too.
Absolutely.
Actually, that's a good segue, because one of my questions was about apps, and particularly at the hotel level. There's a lot of hotel companies. I know, just an example, Ritz-Carlton came out with an app where you go to the hotel and you can pull up and you have where to go eat in the area. Even you can do an art tour at some of the hotels. Is that becoming more of a push to build these apps out for at the hotel level specifically, and to do things like make a spa reservation, book a reservation for tea time or dinner, anything like that? Will we be seeing more of these crop up?
Absolutely.
I think they should leverage known sources. Like instead of building, like in traditionally hotels have these screens on TV with the local restaurants, and they've taken that to some apps as well. Where they'll just have a set of restaurants who are paying you a fee to put their ads on your app, right?
Yeah.
That we looked at, it doesn't make sense for today's consumer, because I'd rather, why should I go to your app and see 3 restaurants when I can see 50 using Yelp?
Okay, sure.
So then you want to use a service that's out there that people are using. So like we've integrated Yelp into our app, into our mobile app, so that it's known. And then they also get the user feedback, the customer reviews, all of the stuff that they want.
Yeah.
We're just making it easier for them to get to existing apps that are already out there and being used.
Right.
There's nothing that beats resources like that. I mean, if I want to go out to dinner, I will go on Google and say restaurants near where I am.
Exactly.
And that's all I need. I can say restaurants near XYZ hotel. I could say Italian restaurants near XYZ hotel. You know, for the hotels to try and do their own app is just pouring money down the drain, I think, at that point. I mean, yeah, you can get a little advertising revenue off of it, but the guests aren't going to use it, and eventually it's going to die.
Really?
It's just, if you happen to be in our app, yes, we make it easier for you to find this.
Yeah.
To that point, we don't invest a whole lot of money to build our own thing.
You put a Google link or something, or a Yelp link.
Benefit, there's no content management. That's the
that's
big
the-
thing with all this old stuff is somebody had to keep it up to date, and the stuff is never up to date.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
The restaurant
Yeah,
goes
we-
out of business, and you're still advertising.
Hotels have a hard enough time keeping their own information.
Yeah,
up to date.
Yeah, we had a vendor who came with this whole content management. The GM can go in and enter their restaurant name. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's
So maybe, I think there's more development of apps on the back end of the house. We're seeing, to help improve guest satisfaction, the organization, there's a definite need there, but to Doug's point, for us to invest money in an app that they paid 99 cents for, or they got it for free,
Right.
why would we want to make that kind of investment?
Yeah, and I think there is much more of that investment is going on in the back of the house. It's enabling the staff to deliver more of what the customer wants using mobility.
Yes.
And I think that concierges in particular is an area where I've seen a lot of stuff.
We're working on some things to actually drive behavior at the hotel level, whether it be the front desk, the general manager, or whoever it might be. So we've been toying around with some gamification things, but alerts and notifications are very simplistic, but nobody really does a lot of them today. That there's an opportunity here that you're about to miss, you need to do something now versus go look at your email later and,
See, that's
It's
why I
2
always
days
thought it'd
late,
be a great
so.
idea for hotels that I know you guys don't have spas, but hotels that might have a spa or even a happy hour and say, if you book a massage right now, your whatever spouse can have hers for free, something like that, because maybe during low periods you can push those out to customers and maybe there's something there in that regard. But yeah, I understand that
There's definitely benefit, especially in full service and luxury properties,
Yeah.
to being able to integrate those services, because
Right.
we are finding there are more and more guests. I know I'm one of these now that will find any opportunity to not talk to a person if we can avoid it. And so if I can click instead of talking, I'm going to find a way to do that.
Yeah, sure.
I think the challenge from a hotel standpoint has been, you can do anything amazing in one hotel
Right.
or 3,
Yeah.
but to make it scalable and cost effective and able to properly integrate with all of these other systems so that things run seamlessly where they need to go and that we don't have service failures is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And that piece of it, frankly, is a lot earlier along than, lots of people can design beautiful user interfaces with gorgeous photography, but does it actually work?
right.
And apps are actually an interesting topic, because I think in the past there was an expectation that the experience that a user would get in an application would be very different from what they could experience on a mobile website, right? And so now that the technology of mobile websites has advanced so much, that is there still that expectation that users are going to have a different experience in the application than a mobile website? And so we've found that there's not, that we have the ability through the new technology to more seamlessly build a mobile website that can respond like an application. And in doing that, providing one entry point for all of what the guest needs to do, while on property. And to me, that's a really interesting direction that I think we're going to see a lot of brands going in the future.
Yeah, I think this is a high-end resort application for the most part. I don't see a big application in hotels, but in a resort where you've got tea times that are going to go to waste, or you've got massage rooms that are going to go to waste, or swimming or snorkeling lessons that are going to go to waste. Those are things that you can revenue manage, but you can push to the guest, and the guests are looking for things to do, so it can absolutely work. But I think it's a niche in terms of the overall hotel market.
That's fair.
Well,
It
I
won't
think-
work at your hotels.
Yeah. I agree from a guest perspective. I guess I'm going back to kind of that infrastructure thing because that's, it's maybe more apps for our use, things like for us, for example, a maintenance app so that I can, alert and notify one repair guy that services 5 hotels instead of, 3 or 4 or 5 guys, one in each hotel.
With a loud radio.
That's waiting around for stuff or, is going through, just kind of, I don't want to say wasting time, but not being as efficient maybe, and especially in our segment, trying to leverage that. You got that, or even just being able to, like, we don't have a lot of employees, but somebody needs some extra towels, be able to make that request, have it find the closest housekeeper, and 2 seconds later they can drop
Well,
it
that's
off.
to your point, because a lot of people nowadays, they don't like talking to people and picking up the phone and say, I need, some toiletries. Are we going to get more to that where there's something in the room where we just hit a button?
And actually, we're doing that today. We have an offering, and I think you do too. It's just called At Your Service.
Okay.
You can order theater tickets, fix your toilet, get a car.
And this is
One
via
button.
what device? Just
Basically, it's on the phone.
Oh, it's on the phone.
You push the button, you get a customer service person, and they will redirect. And I think to your point, they'll redirect it to whoever can service your request.
Right.
But it's a person still.
But you're still talking to someone though.
It's still a person.
Okay.
Yeah. He doesn't want to talk to
I don't want to talk to
anyone.
anyone.
I think it goes
That'll
back,
come on the TV.
yeah, I was gonna say, it goes back to Vivek's comment on the interactive apps on the TV, because I think, again, if it's very simple,
Yes.
click,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it all day long, because I really don't want to talk. And if I'm lucky to get the front desk person, because.
That's right.
Some of those hotels that have put that kind of stuff on the TV, even when it has been fairly simple, are taking it off now because nobody's using it.
Skeptical for that reason.
I come back to, I think the TV is the wrong device for that. I think you want to put that on people's PDAs in an app that simply works everywhere. Maybe it does a few different things at your hotel versus your hotel, but there's a pick up my shoes button, and if they have shoe shining overnight, then that button works in any hotel. That's the day that we get to that is the day that people start using this, I think.
Can I ask a question on phones in the room?
You can ask anything.
Other than 911 reason, what do we see is the use of that phone?
Intercom.
Yeah.
Intercom.
911 is the biggest one,
Right.
and we do see some behavior that is around, especially when coverage wasn't as good as it is today on mobile. Those conference calls we all have to dial into, and hopefully there's a toll-free number, so I'm not paying that large amount per minute. But the conference calls you dial into, people want to use a speakerphone and have hands-free. But other than that, it's obviously very limited.
In our segment, of course, it's not a full service, so you're not calling guests. There's just no use for that.
911 is still the biggest number in
The
those
only
homes.
read we have it is for 911.
Really?
So if I could have a
I would
button,
hit 0 first. I would call the operator for them to call 911.
if I could have a button 911, it's that's all I need.
We're seeing new technology coming into fiber termination points that will allow you to connect up an emergency 911 service without having to have a separate phone. So you could put it on the TV or in the set-top box and put a speaker and just make it an intercom, and you wouldn't have to have a separate device. And there's probably the generational comment earlier. There are still some people who just want the satisfaction of there's a phone on the desk, but there's not many of them, I think, anymore.
Right.
And in 10 years they'll be
Not
retired.
even 10.
I do think there's a
Well, I mean, I think the people who are in their 60s and 70s now may still be traveling, and some of them are in that category. I cannot get my wife, for the life of me, to agree that we can take out our wired phone in the house. I mean, how is a wired phone better than anything else? That wire gives you security.
I'm almost there, so the same debate.
So it's a generational thing.
I had something popped in my head. We were talking about all this, great and new technology, but we were talking about how hotels are it's still about kind of, the guest and welcoming them. But with technology keeps improving, do you think we're losing some of that personal touch along the way with, hotel staff and the way they interact or interface with guests? Is there something there to that?
I think it depends on the age group of the guest. I mean, some guests figure if they talk to a front desk person, they'll get a better room.
Right.
Yeah,
Sure.
still call the hotel.
And still call the hotel. And some people say, I don't care, I just want to get a room.
And the purpose of stay too. I mean, if you're arriving at 10 at night on a business trip,
Right.
You don't want
the
to.
vast majority of travelers of all ages want minimal human interaction. But if you're on a vacation at a resort with family and there's something that someone is engaging and making it positive, that's a totally different experience.
For instance, there's the hotel where I live in New York called the Yotel, if you know this one.
Absolutely.
No check-in staff. No one in the lobby. It's just a computer. There's a kiosk.
But you know what you're going to get when you go there.
Okay, so
And they're
that's
all the
for it's
same.
for certain
And
guests,
not
like
get-
you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you don't think that'll ever
Citizen
be
M, another
we-
brand.
Yeah,
Same
Citizen
thing.
M, right.
At Choice, we did it, when it was in the 90s, we created Mainstay. Mainstay didn't have a front desk. We developed a kiosk that was full check-in, check-out. You could walk in, it printed your folio, it gave you the phone numbers to your room, the DIDs, and the PIN and everything else. And it turned out just like the airlines. It took someone to stand there at the kiosk to get the guest to use
Well,
it.
and
Oh.
Unless
so
somebody
this-
was there,
We use
it
kiosks.
wasn't ever going to happen.
Dick mentioned Citizen M, and I think they did something really, really interesting, and it was completely opposite from Yotel in this particular case. They did put all kiosks, and you do check into the kiosk, but there is a person there to help walk you through it. Their entire job is just to make you comfortable with anything that you're not comfortable with. You know it all, you've done it before, and you want to be left alone, they will. But I think that's the danger that we face as we add technology. To get back to your original question, I think that some hotels, and I don't want to generalize here, but some hotels are cutting back staff as they make technology more available for understandable reasons, but I think that is reducing the options that travelers who want that personal touch have at many hotels. And I think that's probably an inevitable result of technology advance, but I think it does detract from the experience for a lot of people.
I'll give you a good example on that. We implemented kiosks a couple of years ago in all our full-service hotels.
All full-service hotels.
Yeah, not all, but a lot. Yeah. And so there was an IBM kiosk in the lobby, and they're no longer in play. They were all taken out. Why? The guests got frustrated using them. Mm-hmm. They were always out of keys. They were out of paper. Now we have initiatives where we're using their own device.
Yeah.
That they can take with their NFC or RFID. They can check in with this.
Mm-hmm.
Holiday Inn now is using that.
Open ways.
Yeah, where you actually can use this to
And you can open your door, right?
Right.
With your phone.
So if I go back to what I said earlier, if I have this device, I want to use it for everything. And we did a survey a couple of years ago in HDMG, and we asked a lot of senior executives in hotels, what do your guests want? They want to take their device and do everything in the room with it, and make it just work.
Do you guys do surveys where you know if your guests are carrying these and what percentage are? Because
We know from statistics that we get from the HSIA providers because they connect to the networks.
Right.
Yeah.
We know the operating system, we know the device type. Good statistics. from that.
And we are within probably 2 years of being at, for all intents and purposes, 100%.
across
Especially in, so let me caveat a little bit, in the US and certain other markets, many markets, not everywhere in the world, and among our most frequent traveler demographic, but even outside of that, leisure travelers, people of all ages. I mean, the brilliance of what Apple has done, and they have done it, is make a user interface that is so simple that my 83-year-old grandmother has an iPhone and uses it really, really well. So I think we're actually at a point where we can start to assume it's close to 100%. Now, we wouldn't be able to use that to say, let's take out the guest room phone, because even if there is that 1 or 2% that really need it, I think we'll continue to offer it. But the opportunities certainly are unlocked when you get to the critical mass. There's 150 million, I just read in ComScore, 150 million smartphones in the US, 50 million tablets.
Wow. And tablets are even growing fast. Aren't they growing faster than smartphones? I mean,
And Android is overtaking Apple too. So
Android, I think it's 1.3 million activations per day or something crazy. So they're growing at a very rapid speed. And I heard a statistic just recently that saying that within 8 hours you'll know if you left your wallet somewhere, but within 3 minutes you know if you left your cell phone.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's
such an extension. It's always within arm's reach. 24 hours.
People sleep with these.
Yeah,
next to their head. I know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just an extension of your body.
Yeah.